Hi, Jason Beatty here for Indigo Prep blog post number 8. The second in what's proving to be our very popular series, What is My Score Telling Me? This is 550 or so. So this series of blog posts is meant to describe where you are according to your score. Understanding where you are is important because we have different advice that we give people about how to improve. So, we want some general guidance as what our score is telling us of how to quickly get it as high as possible. And of course, as I said in our 450 or less, individual cases may vary. In fact, it may just be the case that this advice is only applicable to one of your part scores. Maybe you're doing fantastic in verbal, low on quant, or the alternative. Who this blog post is for is the person who's, 41st percentile or so. That would be about a 26 on verbal if you're focusing just on the verbal, or a 41, which is a 43rd percentile. It's very confusing here because the part scores, you have a raw score 0 to 60, although it's never been higher than 51, and that translates to a percentile score. So this blog post is meant to speak to the person who has a 550 or, 40th percentile-ish score on the part scores. Look, so here's the straight talk. You do know some of the content, but you don't know all the content. At a 550, that is telling you that there's certain things you know. You may know geometry. You may be great at sentence correction questions that involve modifiers. You may really nail find the assumption critical reasoning questions. But there's all sorts of stuff you don't know. Let's just say number properties or pronouns or inference reading comp, something like that. You definitely know some stuff, but you definitely don't know other stuff. You're mostly using probably a content-based approach here. Most 550 scorers aren't comfortable with the alternative methods. This may not be you, and that's fine. And a lot of 550s have mild but not severe test-taking anxiety. Little feeling of dread, maybe slightly decreasing your cognitive abilities on the test. The good news is, and there is absolutely good news, is plenty of people who are aiming at, say, 700, which is where a lot of my students happen to be aiming, have gone through 550 to get to a 700. So you can get a great score if you're currently getting a 550. On the GMAT, where you start has very little to do with where you end. So your first task, 550 test taker, is look at your practice CAT analysis piece. This varies by test prep company, but we all provide it, where you can classify the questions that you answered by certain, dimensions. For instance, you can look at all your geometry questions or all your data sufficiency questions. And what you're likely going to find is on some of those categories you are doing great, and other categories you're doing horrible. You, in your studies, want to focus on these weak areas. That's what raises your score on the GMAT, is improving your weakness. So task 1, identify your weakness. Task 2, focus and fix that weakness. Also, in areas of weakness, that may mean that you don't understand the content and can't solve a question that way, and you need to learn the content. Or it could be that there's an alternative way to approach those particular questions, and you should start investigating those. So you can fix these silos of weakness with either learning the content, learning the alternative methods, or the best of both worlds. Know enough content, know enough alternative methods, and you'll find the fastest way. Any questions, please reach out to me. Any of these methods right here are fantastic. If not, as always, best of luck on your GMAT studies.